I'm going to bring back up Terry Hedden, and we're going to talk about the painful truth about MSP marketing and lead gen.
So the next 30 minutes or so, maybe 45, we're going to close out talking a little bit more about marketing. I know we didn't really talk about it much. We talked about what do you do with leads more than we talked about how do you get them. So I want to kind of just take a few moments to really just talk about it because, during conversations with marketing people, they may not tell you the whole thing, but you heard enough over the last couple of days to realize that there's a whole lot of work that's being done to get the leads that we talk about getting and what we do with them. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about why it's so hard and what do you do about it. First of all, the only person that will tell you you have to do one of these things is a person that only does one of these things, right? And the reason is because they're all interrelated. If you look like a goon on your website, a phone conversation won't happen because the appointment will be set and then they'll go look at your website. Same thing with social media, right? Everything is interrelated and everything is important. You can't pick one thing and just rely on that. Not at all. Everything's too connected. Everything's too visible. So people will say, how many leads should I expect from social media marketing? And I'll literally tell them, as Andrew did, none. The only reason you should expect money from online marketing is if you put digital spend behind it. At that point, a lead, an appointment might cost you $500, $750, $1,000 an appointment, okay? But just putting a post on Facebook, you should count on 0 leads. Same thing with having a great website. You have to put money behind marketing for it to work. And that's search engine optimization, search engine marketing, and social media advertising. So SEM is pay per click, putting money behind the click to get more of them, and social media advertising. The reason is because no one's going to see it. You put a post on your social media, the only people who see it are your family, your friends, your employees, the people who have actually interfaced with your social media in the past, which is, for most of us, our employees, our family, and maybe not even our whole family would do that. But if you put money behind it, you can get in front of prospects. So a good social media budget might be $2,000 if you're a small market, $4,000 if you're a mid, $6,000 per market if you're in a larger market. Like New York City, you might do $6,000, maybe $8,000 or $10,000 to market to marketing. If not, marketing's not going to produce a lead. We might get lucky. Email might get lucky every once in a while, but you don't count on that. We literally put 0 in our projections. If you put digital spend behind it, it can change, and it can change a lot. And people will say, why do you put so much money behind pay-per-click? And the reason is very simple. The best clicks are very expensive. So people say, I put $500, it didn't produce a lead. I'm like, dude, $500 is like $20 a day. You take your monthly budget divided by 22, you get $20 a day. Managed services Manhattan is probably $100 a click. So you're not going to get the good leads. So of course the leads you get are as weak, right? So that's, people are frustrated with Marketopia because we won't do digital marketing unless people will invest what it takes to get a lead. Okay, so that's kind of how it works. We'll do marketing because having social media posts is critically important because people are going to go there and take a look at your business. We put good content out there, we can get a reach. Social media marketing without pay-per-click works, it just takes forever. Your horizon might be a year or 2 or 3 because most people that come to us have a reach of like 40 people in their social feed. 30 people, 15 people, it's amazing. People are like, man, I don't understand, you've been doing social media marketing for a year. I'm like, dude, 13 people like your page, right? Marketopia has like 4,000 people like our page, and we don't even look at it as a source of lead gen. It's just a part of doing business. You have to be out there. So you have to do it all. And let me really focus on these because the most expensive, marketing is super cheap. Marketopia's marketing might be like $3,500 a month for more of a syndicated type program. It's not expensive, including a website, everything. The reality, though, is that you have to call people. You heard a lot about callers because that's what people see. That's the last touch of a marketing campaign. That's the one that produces the appointment. You have to do all these things and then call people. The calling people gets all the credit at Marketopia, but we're starting to get a lot better and smarter using artificial intelligence to link the like on Facebook to the appointment set. Because somewhere between 18 and 40% of all the leads actually started in digital. It's just hard to track it. Because when people put a form fill, they don't put their business address. They put their Yahoo, Gmail, you know what I mean? It's hard to link everything, but we're getting better at it because it's really important. Inbound and outbound both have to be done. Number 2, it's super expensive. Super expensive. You can't just hire an intern and expect it to work. It's like hiring an intern to run your knock. Sure, they'll answer the phone, and sure, they'll make a stab at it, but they're not going to be a level 3 knock engineer. Marketing is the same way. You want amateur hour marketing, you want to embarrass yourself, you don't want to get a lead, skimp on it. To do it right, you need to hire a manager, a content writer, a designer, a digital specialist, a caller. All that might add up to $318,000 a year. That's what you have to do. And you know what's weird is that's what my MSP did. We did it all internal. There was no option to outsource. So that's what I had to spend. I'm not sure, I may have had to spend more than that. But that's what it takes to grow, right? So there are options that are a lot less. Like Marketopia is $3,500. That's obviously a heck of a lot less than $318,000. But my point is that doing it right is not cheap. Very much like doing MSP right is not cheap. You have to have a real team to provide the level of service that our industry promises our customers. Number three, I guess, there's a really, really good chance you suck at marketing. 94% of MSPs cite marketing and lead gen as the number one issue they have in business. So all the stuff we talk about, sales is actually not their problem. MSPs are relatively amazing at sales once they get in the door. It's getting in the door that they really struggle with, and that's why a lot of people who think they're going to do it themselves end up failing at it and coming back. I mean, there was a lot of talk about the second sales cycle, the event. For us, the event is finally giving up on what we were doing internally. You'll get a caller internally and you'll be super excited and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much better. They're producing just as many leads as you for half the cost, and then they quit. And then you rehire and retrain and you realize that, okay, there's a whole lot more to it than just doing it internally and relying on luck a little bit. Next, a lot of people think it's this magical thing. One of the reasons that calling is so important is because in B2B tech marketing, it can take 29 touch points to get a lead. So if you're relying on email or social media or some Google click, you got to get it 29 times. That could take years. A call accelerates the process because we can have basically 29 touch points with 29 words. So that's why calling is so important to accelerate that pace, because we are not patient people. We are not, if you came to me and said, Terry, I want to get 5 leads, and if I said, what year do you want them to start? That will determine the plan you're on. That's kind of how I feel. If you're like, 2025 is fine, as long as it's coming and I know it's coming, I feel good. I'll be like, yeah, let's rely on SEO. Let's do a great website. We'll do social media, and we'll just get there in 5 years. But the reality is, we want not just leads in the month we start, we want sales in the month we start. So you really have to do a lot. Another thing that we found is that salespeople have to get humble to be successful. When we talk a lot about that word of mouth close ratio, the word of mouth lead, and the fact that our sales processes are built around it, there is a humbling process that our customers have to go through before they realize that the sales process they used before is not going to work with these leads. Some people get it done in the first day. They're they're humble as pie. They pick up the phone, they're like, Kendall, Ileana, James, whatever, just tell me what to do. And they'll say, take the training, follow the process, don't deviate, just drink the Kool-Aid, and they're more successful. We have some customers who'll be 0 for 100, and they'll call us and tell us that we stink. I'm like, you're 0 for 100. Your marketing is not your problem. You need to revisit your sales process. The reason I say that is that it takes time for marketing to ramp up, and then sales has to ramp up as well. So you'll hear, we have Marketopia as a 180-day guarantee, and it's great, but the reason it's 180 isn't us. We'll start producing leads in the month 1, 2, or 3, right? But the salesperson might lose all of the ones from month 1, all the ones from month 2, and some of them lose all the ones from month 3. There are people in this room that, took 9 months to kind of figure it out. But anyway, so you got to expect too much too soon. But we talked about the payoff. You've got to think long term. This is how you justify everything in business. You don't look at it as a monthly expense with a monthly revenue. Every lead you get is worth $4,000 to $20,000, and I want you to go through that math for yourself. In the sheet here, we have this page. This is the number one thing you need to leave with, because you will stop being emotional about your marketing decision making. It is just math. It is not more complicated than that. So figure out what that number is to you so that when you talk to a marketing department or a marketing company, you have a realistic expectation. If something's worth 20 grand, don't expect to pay $100 for it, right? It's going to take money to make money. Cheap people don't grow, Frugal people don't grow. Aggressive people that invest in lead gen are the ones that grow because they do the math. If every time you gave me $1,000, I gave you 4, you'd give it to me every minute of every day for the rest of your life, right? Until your arm got sore, you'd do it. Yet you don't believe the conversations that we have with people. And it's sad because these are great people. They deserve to achieve their dreams. They're working hard. They're great at customer service, but they can't get over this one formula part of it, right? If something's worth $1,000, if something's worth $4,000, you probably should be willing to pay close to $4,000 for it. And you don't have to, but that should be what you logically would pay. Because if I said the same thing, would you give me $1,000 if I gave you 4? You'd do the same thing if I said, I'll give you 4 if you give me $3,999. You'd do it too, because you make $1 every time we transacted, right? You probably would automate it with some sort of Excel macro, but you get it done. So anyway, get over this mental state. Go through the math, stop being emotional about your marketing decision making, and reap the rewards. And the same thing happens even once you start marketing. Let's say you miss the first 30. You don't close the first 30. The same math still holds. You just have to be humble and learn and grow and get better. And so some of our most satisfying client relationships are the ones who finally figured it out, you know? Right. But I grew 50% a year for a dozen years. No question about it. The reason I started it is because I figured out a way for a little guy to be able to afford what I spent, 318 divided by 12, right? I don't know what even that is, 30,000 a month or something. I figured out how to do it for $3,500. And the reason marketing is so inexpensive in Marketopia, we offer custom marketing. We have customers who spend 50 grand a month, 100 grand a month. Don't get me wrong, you can spend money on custom, but the reality is, if I send a campaign for Terry Rossi in New York, I can send the same campaign for you. Your prospects are different territories. It doesn't matter that the email was used twice. Where Bush League amateur hour people who destroy your reputation are the ones who allow the same campaign to be sent in the same market. There is nothing more damaging to your reputation than to walk into a prospect and have the same letter on the desk for 5 different logos on it. That's ridiculous. You're humiliating yourself. You just don't even realize it. So go to get exclusive per market or exclusive overall, either custom built just for you or at least custom in your market. So it's also really hard. So we talked about the people and the cost, but it's just difficult. You know, there's a lot of people in the room. I don't know, where's my marketing team? I think they're out there. There's a team of 40 people doing this crap every day. I mean, SEO engineers, social media, video. There's a lot of amazing people. Look at that guy in the back. He's not just a supermodel. He's a very talented video person. It takes amazing people to do amazing things. And it's harder than it looks. Everything is harder than it looks. Managed services is harder than it looks, right? And I'll tell you because I struggle with actual operations of my MSP. I could always outsell my ability to serve. So that's why most people outsource it. Almost every MSP does no marketing or outsources marketing. Very few do it internal, even the big boys. You know, you've heard of CompuCom. It was the largest MSP in the world. We did demand gen for CompuCom. You know, big vendors do it too. There's vendors in this building, big vendors, where demand gen is not done by their internal team. Don't be prideful about it, and don't be cheap about it. That's why a lot of people go toward outsourcing. Any questions on that? Jeff, will you come up and take us home?